Let's discuss a silent song. A silent song is written by Leonard Kibera, an author from Kenya. The main character is Bani, but we have two other prominent characters, and that is Ezekiel, his brother, and Sarah, his sister-in-law, that is Ezekiel's wife. Bani is blind, and Bani is disabled, and therefore he has some limitations. In this episode, we discuss the limitations that come with disability. Disability is a physical or a mental condition that limits a person's movement, senses, or activities. Mbane is physically disabled and is also visually impaired. And so, from his story, we're going to look at the plight of people living with disabilities and how they are restricted or constrained. They would love to partake in certain activities, but they are limited in a way. Let's cut right to the chase. Number one, we go to page 17 of Silent Song and Other Stories. Let us look at the painful attack that Mbane experiences, right? We can see the limitation from the way he is groping towards the door of the hut, the hut, the way he's crawling weakly on his knees and elbows. He cannot walk, so he has to crawl. That's a limitation. And he feels pain in his spine and his stomach, gathering violence rapidly. Apart from that, there are sharp pangs from the navel that tear through his whole body. The pain. That is a certain attack that he gets. And then because of that, he's paralyzed for a tormenting moment. You can see that it's basically just talking about the pain that Mbane goes through. A painful attack. Then, of course, he recoils, waiting for another attack. This attack is gone, but he knows that another attack is coming up. As this attack vanishes, it vanishes in savage fury. Imagine, savage fury means a totally bad attack. You wouldn't want to experience that. And then, of course, when the pain goes away, it leaves him cold with sweat. You're cold, but you're sweating. That's Mbane's painful attack. He gives up the fight. Remember, he's crawling on the floor. Then he just gives up the fight. He gives up the fight. He lets himself fall and hits his forehead on the dirt of the flea-ridden floor, hitting his head on the floor that is ridden with fleas and it's dirty. So that also describes the condition of the heart. It's not really good. So, and yet he is confined there because, of course, he's disabled. He cannot go anywhere. And that is the constraint, the impediment, the limits that he has as a result of his disability. So that is on page 17. Moving on, let us see how Mbane deals with the world. The retreat. He doesn't fight back. He does not, he's limited in a way that he cannot fight back. The world is cruel. An able-bodied person can fight back, but what about a disabled person? A person living with disabilities, can he fight back? Let us see what happens in Barney's situation. First and foremost, he is hungry, but he does not know what time it is. He's just hungry. He just knows that he's hungry. In the gloom of his eternal night, for him, night is forever. It's always dark. Time, day, and beauty have no meaning whatsoever in his life. They are flat, they are imperceptible. He cannot perceive them. So for him, beauty is something that he finds impossible. He can never really, get it. He cannot see and say, oh, this is a beautiful painting, this is a beautiful road, wow, beautiful weather. It's beyond it's beyond the bitter limits of darkness, you know. So his life is all about feeling, hearing, and running away. He's always trying to escape some danger. He's limited to escaping danger. So he just crawls away from danger. He cannot, when I say run away, that is metaphoric. He cannot really run away. He just crawls away. Bani treats life negatively. Right. He can never hit back. So all his life, he just retreats. Let's move to page 18. Now he is experiencing new life. This new life is the life away from the city. And it's more of confinement or detention. He's in a hut. He's detained. He's limited. He cannot do much in that hut. Listen, the hut is serene, but it's suspicious. So he's used to the urban ruggedness. He's used to the noise. Bani is used to the quick footsteps of the town people who are busy, right? And he does not understand their business. That's another limitation. They're always busy. They're always walking by him. He's crippled and he's blind. Well, he is disabled and he is visually impaired. So he cannot see them. He cannot perceive, but he does not understand their business. Occasionally, some of them would, answer to the plea and just, drop a copper in his heart just to keep him alive. Now he is in a new confinement. The book says confinement on page 18, if I'm not wrong, new confinement. And confinement means imprisonment or detention or house arrest. So he's basically deterred from moving. He's limited. Even when he's rescued by his brother Ezekiel, there is a meaning to his brother's silence. And the brother says that I rescued you from the barbaric city so that you can see the light of God. He cannot see the light of God in his new confinement. He's basically in prison. He used to live on a street in the city. And of course, he's nostalgic about that kind of lifestyle. Of course, he earned a living on one street. Just one street. He did not understand the city. He just lived in one street and he understood that street and the back lane. And not really understood because he's, again, visually impaired. He cannot see. He's limited to that small space where he sits in the city, right? So there's a lot of impediment or limitation because of his disability. Again, he could not tell how long, how big, how wide, how beautiful the street is. Limitation. He could only hear the small talk about the bright weather and the lovely morning and the beautiful sunsets, but he could not really engage in the small talk because he cannot perceive it, he cannot see it. He is visually impaired. It's virtually impossible for him, right? The town people will talk about the blue sky or the gay morning, but to him, that was, beyond his imagination. It was beyond his reach. He couldn't see that. Still, he would be happy. Funny thing that beside the limitation, still he would be happy. We are still on page 18. So he remembers the gay people around him. And he knows that money is the essence of life in town. And that's why he begs. Without money, you cannot survive in town. He understood also the dullness of those people who just passed with their empty pockets. Those who passed around briskly had empty pockets. It's only the gay people who are happy and, lively. Those are the people with money in their pockets. So if you see someone who's dull just walking, probably that guy is broke as a church mouse, right? He had some problems also in town. The day was really hot, generous with heat. And of course, flies would invade the edges of his mouth. What about the night? Did it offer some relief? Of course not. It was too cold. and hostile. He was unsettled but undisturbed during the night. And he would just go to sleep, but at the same time he knew he was vulnerable. There was always a possibility of attack at night. We had some thieves who would come and even steal from him, the bestest of thieves, the Jetin, right? But he knew that at night we also had some good men and women who drank alcohol, and pimps and whores who also enjoyed the night, in the buildings just right above where he lived or stayed. Another limitation he has is that he cannot marry. He was always, of course, envious of the brother, uh, who he was older than the brother, but the brother is married. He cannot reach out to this actual fulfillment of marriage because of his condition. And he just yearns impotently, but he is limited by the darkness and the lameness. He cannot go beyond that, right? And he feels bitter, and he feels the self-pity, right? And he just imagines his own light and smiles broadly and bravely, but silently. He cannot do anything beyond that. So he's also limited in the fact that he cannot go out and get someone to marry because of his darkness and lameness. Too bad. He just speaks to himself. He has no one to speak to. He has no one to talk to on the streets. All his life, he has been speaking to himself. He has no one to address, right? Apart from just saying yes methodically, just when somebody is offering him a coin. And his life has been one long sad a line of uncommunicative thought. He just talks to himself, thinks to himself. So he's limited. He's not like, he's unlike maybe some of us who could express their thoughts, talk to people, right. So all he could do is just speak to himself. That's another limitation that Bani has. Then he also does not. Mbani's mother is religious, and Mbani's mother talks about a stream. That life is like a stream that flows through rocks of life, right? Sometimes it would go through the dirty, muddy water, and sometimes it go through the whirlpools and cry, and sometimes it will flow smoothly and be undisturbed, and it would laugh, and that is life. And Mbane feels like he's not part of that stream. He feels like the bitter liquid that is flowing down his throat. That is the medicine that Sarah gives Mbane. So he feels that as a result, he has no reason to believe in God. As much as the mother is religious and the brother is religious, but he feels like he has no reason to believe in God because his life is not that beautiful stream that the mother talks about. Bitterness that Mbane feels is also part of the limitation that he has. He's bitter because of the limited power that he has. And let's talk about how Mbane feels. He's forgotten. They have forgotten him. They have never remembered or noticed him. This is the city people. When Mbane is on the street, he feels like he's forgotten. He feels that people have never really even noticed or remembered him. Sometimes they pray for him. Sometimes they drop a coin for him. And other Christians will really just curse him. They would say he's able-bodied, but he's just lazy. And that's why he'd sit there, crippled by his laziness, just begging and whatnot. Let's now talk about the future. Mbane is trapped in the present, but he thinks about the future. So he is basically, he has the impediment of the fact that he cannot get to the future now. He cannot get to this future that he dreams of because he is in his present state, and his present state is not pleasant. In his present state, he has been denied the eyes. Beyond these pangs of darkness, he feels that there is light, right? But for now, he has been denied the light, and he can only, endure the darkness, right? And he feels that there's refuge and there's hope beyond the darkness in future. And he feels like he'll have the joy and the freedom of the good people of the city as they enjoy their joy and freedom in the brothels. He will enjoy his in the future where he can see light, right? Um, he wishes that he wishes for his journey's end. He wishes that his journey will come to an end so that his soul is free, because his soul is limited. His soul is trapped in his unwashed body, in his sweaty body. The book says that his soul is incarcerated in his sweaty body. So he just wishes that it can be freed. That is on page 20. A silent song is found in this book, page 17 to 20. And it talks about not only the plight of the disabled, but also the limitations. As a society, how can we help someone who is limited? Is it what Ezekiel does and offers him religion? Or can we do more? Is there light beyond the darkness that Mbane, a visually impaired young man who is also crippled, is there light for such a person? Is the light in future, or can we provide the light now? Pertinent questions. Feel free to leave a comment, and if you haven't, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can also check out more of that stuff on wekati.blogspot.com.